I guess I got surgery tomorrow. Just kind of prepping. Because I know when I get there, they're going to put one of these things in my mouth. What's this thing called? A what? It's a thermometer, you weirdos. Thermometer. Why would I do this? Why do we put thermometers in our mouths? Who cares? Who cares how warm it is underneath my tongue? Nobody in there. Why do we care what the thermometer says under our tongue? Extra Christian points for Sharon. Give it up for Sharon. They're like, I'm glad she's smart, but I'm just glad the smacking will stop. We put thermometers underneath our tongues because whatever is happening with our tongue is an indicator of what is happening where? Through our whole bodies. That's why we do that. Nobody's like, it looks like underneath your tongue is a little warm, and that's bothering me. No one cares. Instead, the whole point of this is it reveals what is going on in your body. So please, open your Bibles to James 3. I can't hear you. Hey, here we go. James 3. Not many of you should presume to be teachers, because you might do stupid stuff like put thermometers in your mouth when you get up to preach. Not many of you should presume to be teachers, my brothers, because you know that we who teach will be judged more strictly. Many of you have judged me already. Wait till the end of this thing. You are not going to believe how hard you're judging me. We all stumble in many ways, and if anyone is never at fault in what he says, then he's a perfect man, able to keep his whole body in check. So when we put bits into the mouths of horses to make them obey us, we can turn the whole animal. Or take ships, for example. Although they're so large and are driven by strong winds, they are steered by a very small rudder, wherever the pilot wants to go. So likewise, the tongue is a small part of the body, but it makes great boast. Consider what a great forest is set on fire by a small spark. The tongue also is a fire, a world of evil among the parts of the body. It corrupts the whole person. It sets the whole course of his life on fire. And itself is set on fire by hell. Isn't that just kind of heartwarming this morning? All kinds of animals, birds, reptiles, creatures of the sea are being tamed and have been tamed by men. But no man can tame the tongue. It is a restless evil, full of deadly poison. Who's glad they came to church? This is so exciting. Yeah, man, that thing's dangerous. I've entitled today's sermon, Mustang Mouth. Because Mustangs are horses that have never been what? You ever met a Mustang mouth? Okay, bunch of Christians. I don't know. Let's be honest. Who has been a Mustang mouth? You ever gotten home and thought, I said some stupid stuff? You ever gotten home and thought, they said some stupid stuff? That's a case of the what? Mustang mouth. And up here, there's a rudder. This thing extends underneath a boat and steers it. And this is what the scriptures are talking about, is this idea of a rudder. Some vivid metaphors Is this beautiful writing just in itself? If you're not a Christian, if you just read this, you're just like, man, there's some powerful imagery. Am I right or am I wrong? Thinking about a tiny little bit that's going to move a 1,000-pound animal. Crazy. A tiny little rudder that's often no bigger than your head. Some of you have large heads, larger boats. A very small rudder will steer an entire ship. Think about how powerful these analogies are. What I want to show you are a few things hidden here in this passage that talk about our tongues. And so today I want to talk about our tongues. First thing I would like to talk about is the power of the tongue. Powerful. I want to talk about the poison of the tongue. And here's a preacher trick, because I wanted them all to start with peace, because I've been watching online. I've been seeing these professional preachers. Professional preachers, they start words with the same letter. So, we've got poison, we've got power, we've got exposure. You see what I'm saying? It's just exposure, the exposure of the tongue, and the potential of the tongue. Now, if you think about your body, if you're in middle school, you do it every day, I promise you. What is this wild world I'm living in? If you think about your body, you've got these 5 senses, and there's some fascinating stuff about these 5 senses that I found kind of dovetailed with what we're going to talk about today. Number 1, your nose predominantly receives. Now, I understand if you have a cold, it's contributing to the world, but its main function is to smell, not necessarily to project or interject into anything, okay? So your nose is one of those. Your ear is the second one. Its primary function of your ear is to take in information, code it, and put it into your brain kind of thing. Typically, you need to see a doctor if your ear is doing a lot of external contributions to the world. Someone's like, I need to write that down. I did not know that, actually. Your hands are fascinating because they both feel and manipulate things. They do both things. They're taking in information and they are affecting the world. Your hands are doing that, the sense of touch. And then your tongue. Your tongue's a fascinating thing in that it receives information, helps you taste, but also is the main mechanism to help you what? Talk. So it has this dual kind of purpose. It's kind of fascinating. It's taking in stuff, and it's also spitting stuff out, sometimes literally. Proverbs 18 alludes to this idea when it says this: the tongue has the power of life and death, and those who love it will eat its fruit. The tongue has power. You might write that down. The tongue has power. The tongue has power to say things like, you're stupid. The tongue has power to say, honestly, you're never really going to make much of your life. You're kind of dumb. The tongue has the power to say, I don't like you. The tongue also has the power to say things like, hey, I know it's tough right now, but I'm with you. And together we're going to get through this. The tongue has the power to say, hey, I know not everyone understands you, but I do. And I'll tell you what I'm seeing compared to what they're seeing is incredible. Keep going. Do not give up. Do not listen to them. The tongue has the power to say, hey, listen up. I know that oftentimes you feel like a failure. But I see you winning in many, many ways. The tongue has what? The tongue has power. The power of life and death. If you really think about it, throughout the story of God's people, Creation starts with a what? A word. Creation starts when God enacts his tongue and he speaks things into existence. Think about what Jesus did with his life. One of the primary things that Jesus did was move his tongue as a teacher and as a rabbi. The God of the universe. If I was God, I'd be like, I'm showing up like a general. I'm shooting some stuff. If I'm going to be God, number one, I'm not squeezing myself into a human being. I'm going to be the big man on Universal Campus. I'm not going to get down and just start talking. But don't you think that maybe that was strategic? Who thinks God might have been strategic when he put Jesus on the planet? Anyone else? No, just kind of willy-nilly, like on a Thursday. He was like, I don't know, you want to go, bro? Sure. No. He said Jesus, he sent his son, and predominantly for him to speak. Who believes that the entire globe has been impacted by the words of Jesus? He only lived 33 years. I'm 41. With these extra 8 years, I'm almost as influential as Jesus. Isn't it crazy that we don't have any recorded words from Jesus till he was 30? So now we sandwich his words down into 3 years. Some of you guys have been in this church for 8 years. Do you see the power of a tongue? Creation, Jesus. Now the tongue has poison. Who here has ever experienced the poison of someone's tongue? Every hand should go up. Think about your childhood. Who had insecurities as a child? Who's so glad they got over all of them? And you're just, bam, just living. How many of our insecurities came from people's words? Almost all of them. And if not their words, whose words? My words. Think about the power of the tongue. The tongue has poison when its words are, I'm going to put it in 2 categories today. And I hope you see this. I hope you see this. The tongue has poison when our words are untrue and unloving. Our words hold particular poison when they are untrue and they are unloving. So number one, an untrue word is something that is not factual. I painted my car red. No, you didn't. You painted it blue. Right? I'm pulling up to the house. No, you're not. You're still 5 minutes away. Well, pulling up is relative. No, shut it. It's not factual. All right? So untrue words are not factual. Sometimes they are malicious. I'm going to lie to hurt you. There are other times when we use these untruths and they're simply misleading. It's not on the nose, you're stupid, you're dumb, you're ugly, I don't want to hang out with you, all those sorts of things. It is more misleading. It is meant to, even if I'm telling you things that are true, it is meant to push you off course. The other day I went to Kinko's because the printer's not working. And I just needed I needed to scan in a few things and put them on my thumb drive. Someone take a guess at how much it is to scan a piece of paper. Now remember, printing it is 19 cents. That's doing boop, boop, and then spitting out paper. How much do you think it is to just scan it? Just boop, boop, no paper. Okay. Well, the sign said 49 cents any size. I thought, praise the Lord. And I said, boop, 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 boop. And I realized they meant size of paper, not size of stack. And 89 pages later, that thing said 40. I said, what? It's crazy. Whether they wanted to or not, I was misled. They could, for me, it could have been stated a little more clearly before I spent $44 scanning in a stack of papers. By the way, I pushed cancel before it charged me. Cha-ching. And then I drove to Kansas City. Gas is high, but it's not that high. James 5. Above all, my brothers, do not swear. Not by heaven, not by earth, not by anything else. Let your, say it with me, yes be yes, and your no be no. Listen, this is talking about when we walk into a courtroom and they hand us, and they place a Bible or something else these days, and you put it on, you put your hand on it, and you say, I promise to tell the truth, the whole truth, and what? You guys are watching these murder shows too. Okay. That means to be under oath. Also a great rock and roll band from the 90s. It means to be under oath. Hey, Christian, say yeah. Hey, Christian, you're always under oath. You're always under oath. Don't mislead. Don't tell half-truths. You are always under oath. Let your yes actually mean yes. And let your no actually mean no. You're always under oath. It's just a little bit of exaggeration. It's just a little bit of omission. We saw these happen in two big stories in the last year, or in the last couple of years, rather. One of which was what some would call Pizzagate. And there was a lie on the internet that said that there was a sex trafficking ring underneath Comet Ping Pong Pizza. Which, by the way, if it's called Comet Ping Pong Pizza, I'm not eating there. But anyway, on the internet, this is a child, and this whole thing, and this guy walks in with a gun and is ready to kill all the employees because of what they're doing in their basement, only to find out that the pizza shop is built on a slab. There's no basement. We saw this in another story when a young man was characterized as being smart aleck or being condescending to a Native American man. He has now, I think, cashed in over $300 million in defamation on a whole bunch of news outlets. Because the more videos that came in, the more people said, we retract what we said. Misleading. Do you think both of those were untruths meant to mislead people? And people start building their lives on top of your faulty foundations. Anytime you lie, you basically say, hey, bro, why don't you build your house on this garbage foundation? How unloving is that? Well, I did that and that and that and invested in that based on what they said, and the house came crashing down. Why is a lying tongue so detrimental? Because people build their lives on it. We build our lives on it. Omission, exaggeration. Words also are poisonous when they are unloving. When words are unloving. Now, some unloving words are just straight up blunt. Some unloving words are couched in niceties, but are actually meant to harm you. Most unloving words are not pointed to the person that they're talking about. Am I right or am I wrong about that? We are so bold when they walk out of the room. I'll tell you what they've said. Is there really something still to my playground attitude of say it to my face? So many of our words are unloving. Oftentimes they're unloving simply when they're ill-timed. I've got a friend who was just diagnosed with cancer. And she said to me, Jared, I'm trying not to make a big deal about this because I've had so many friends who've been through stuff like this that they call and give all of their horror stories when I get diagnosed, and it just fills me with hopelessness. So I'm guarding myself against hopelessness. So many of your unloving words are simply unloving because they're ill-timed. You ever said something and thought, that was the wrong time? Mandy can inform me of this offense with just her eyes. She's like, and I'm like, okay. I look at her and go, can I get a do-over real quick? She's like, you're going to need it. It usually starts with, why isn't the ill-timed, impatient, rude, poisonous words hold the power. Listen to what poisonous words hold the power to do. Poisonous words hold the power to ruin community. What's the best community moment you've had in a while? Somebody share with me. What's the best community moment you've had in a while? Young Nation. Very good. Hey, how was New York City? Okay, that's awesome. I'm not jealous or anything. Yeah, we love Young Nation. We come together. We have fun together. We learn about each other's lives. We learn about Jesus. Listen, poisonous words will destroy Young Nation. Poisonous words will destroy your favorite Thanksgiving feast. Poisonous words will destroy any friendship in this church. Have you seen that happen anywhere else? So if you go big on this, unloving, untrue, poisonous words destroy whole communities. I want you to imagine with me, just go somewhere way crazy. I mean, like further than Mars, way out there by Pluto. Is Pluto a planet again? No? Okay, I thought he was getting, okay. Maybe he'll complete his orbit someday and be invited back into the fold. But think way out there into a world where the people couldn't trust the words of their politicians. Just imagine that. Imagine a world where you would have to second guess a reporter's words that maybe they're spinning something in a way to please them. Imagine that. You do not walk comfortably in a society where you have to wonder about every word. It ruins community. Think about it on a small scale. Think about it in your house or your marriage. Listen, there's always hope and there's always forgiveness. But when your spouse lies to you, it takes some time to trust them again. Lies, untruths, poison community. And listen, the mission of Jesus is best accomplished not with lone wolves who are just all of that. The mission of Jesus is best accomplished in the context of community. Why would it be? Why would it be that one of his favorite things, he is actually called the father of lies? Wouldn't it be that the father of lies' main goal is to destroy the very thing that could change the world? The poison of the tongue destroys community. Luke 6, no good tree bears bad fruit, nor does a bad tree bear good fruit. Each tree is recognized by its own fruit. And people do not pick figs from thorn bushes or grapes from briars. I love Briar's ice cream. The good man brings good things out of the good that's stored up in his heart. And the evil man brings evil things out of the evil that is stored up in his heart. For out of the overflow of his heart, his mouth speaks. Good trees bear what? Good fruit. An apple tree spits out. A dark inner world speaks out a dark outer world. Whatever is going on inside of here is exposed. Whatever's in here that no one can see is actually exposed by your what? Your words. I've heard it said this way. When people reveal how they see the world out there, well, you just can't really trust anybody. Yeah, I mean, the world is just kind of just dog eat dog. Always somebody talking about you. Listen, man, You got to strike while the iron's hot. If somebody's vulnerable, you just got to go for it. You can't pass that stuff up. When people talk about how they see the world out there, they're actually exposing the world in here. I've never found someone who's at peace inside of their soul who are hypercritical of everyone else. Have you? I've never seen someone who is hypercritical and sees and is in a world of critique in here who only speaks blessings of other people. What I have found is that however you tell me the world exists is actually the world inside of you. And I believe that our tongue is exposing what is going on inside of here. Now, we all try and be mature and say things that are more admirable than what is in here. That's called maturity. Good job. Don't just start speaking your truth. Some of your truth is stupid. Instead, wouldn't it make sense for us to focus upon the condition of the inner world? That way we don't have to police this tongue. What does Jesus care about more? The condition of your actions or the condition of your heart? How does he change your actions? By changing your heart. How do you change your words, church? Change your heart. Because your heart is ultimately exposing what is going on inside of there. The tongue holds great potential. The tongue holds great potential. I bet right now I could pass this microphone around and there'd be a number of us who could remember words that someone spoke over us that we have held on to. Sometimes in our darkest moments, we've said, that person said that thing, and I'll remember it forever. I want a lot more of them. And I want to be a part of building a community of faith where we say a lot more of those things. But think about the potential that is just in your mouth. You want to change the world? Who wants to change the world? Immediately you think, I'm going to start a nonprofit. Maybe overseas. I want to change the world. I'm going to get a big Twitter following and really give it to them. All those are fine. But what if the most powerful way in which you could change the world is living behind your lips? Wouldn't that be crazy? If your tongue could encourage and inspire an entire next generation to live full of God's Spirit and afraid of nothing, and to live in such a way where the enemy shudders. That's living right inside of your mouth. Open your mouth. There's an entire religious system who sees its main goal to sit under a tree, find nirvana, and totally check out from this world. If the way in which to change the world is in here and actually speak, wouldn't it be the attack of an enemy to cause people to believe that their purpose in life is to shut up? Wow. We can encourage, we can forgive, we can advocate. Ephesians 4 says, I always want you to speak the what? Truth in. I want you to speak the what? Truth in love. You ever heard this? Hey, man. Sorry. Hate me if you want to. I'm just speaking the truth. So often it's pride, isn't it? I'm going to walk in here and I'm going to say what I want because I don't want to put in the work to formulate better words. And so I'm just going to let it happen. Hey, all I'm doing is speaking the truth. Can I give you an idea this morning? Go ahead, Pastor. Thank you, in the back. What about those who say this? Hey, I'm just speaking the truth in love. But you might be thinking that I'm actually framing this as a positive. I'm not. I'm actually framing this idea as a negative. Because the word says that I always need to speak the truth in love. But the Bible also says in the very same passage that you always need to speak the love with truth. Do you believe that there are scores of people speaking lovely and kind things, but none of it's true? Sometimes we like our lies with a smile. Oh, they were so sweet, and they never told them the truth. There are people building their whole lives on philosophies that are going to wreck them, and you're just rubbing their back. You're so loving. You're loving them to death. I'm just waiting for just the time. I think a lot of relationships go way into overtime on time to speak the truth. Why? Because we're cowards. I came to tell the truth this morning. Is that okay? I'm a coward. There's so many times I say loving things to people because I'm too scared of the ramifications of telling it the truth in love. I just tell the love in love. I'm just speaking the love. It's a form of pride. I remember one time a girl I was with, I wasn't with her. That sounded terrible. This is bad. This gal I knew, she was a friend of Mandy and I's and everyone else's, and she went away to a ministry to go be a part of a ministry. And I reluctantly gave her my recommendation because honestly, she was pretty sarcastic and aloof. She was also a teenager, so I just thought, okay. But in my heart, I thought, man, you know, she's kind of critical, kind of tough, and doesn't really get stuff. And she goes away, and she comes back 2 years later, and she's completely different. And I'm like, what? And honestly, there was pride inside of me that said, man, I couldn't do anything with her. She went there. They're much better leaders than I am. Why am I such a terrible leader that I could have greatness in front of me and I couldn't pull the greatness out? I sent her with an attitude of, oh boy. And she comes back just full of life. I said, what is going on? Tell me about your experience. She goes, you know, I just went there. And it was just a couple months in. We were in prayer. And one of my leaders just said, you know, you come off as sarcastic and aloof. I was like, I knew that. What was the difference? They actually spoke the truth in love. Remember when I told you lies will build foundations for people's lives that are ultimately going to crumble? Do you believe that your smile and your love, speaking love in love, is actually going to harm people? There might be churches that need to hear a message of speak the truth in love because they are rude and small-minded and just internet jerks. I do not believe that of this church. My fear is that there are people in this church, myself included, the part of the equation we're missing is the truth inside of the love. This guy here. This guy here. This guy here. This is a cow tongue. This is a cow tongue. It's large in my hand, but it's actually quite small the size of an ox. This is an amazing tool. Cows only have teeth on the bottom. Did you know that? So this little guy here, he hooks that grass and he pulls it out with his tongue. And then he mashes it. This is like sandpaper. Anyone want to feel it? Kayla's like, I'm never singing on that mic again. And they use this tongue to press the food up against the top of their mouth, and that's how they chew. This is an incredible little mechanism here. Now, this tongue here cannot lap water. Instead, they make a little straw out of their cute little cow lips, and they suck up water. But this guy here is actually what keeps baby calves alive, because this tongue is worked to get its circulation going. And used to scratch, used to seek out salty water in your sweat. Some people are like, oh, he loves me. He doesn't. He's just starving to death. Parched. Now, this tongue has changed the atmosphere of this room. People are like, oh, this is fun. Now like, oh my goodness. That's so rude of Jared. It's so gross. It's offensive. I do like to do things just because, but today is not one of those. I wanted to do this on purpose. Because for about 20 minutes, you guys have been in frightened expectation of what is about to happen, because I put on gloves and an apron. And we just came out of the Blush series, and you're like, I don't know what this dude's going to do. But I am afraid that there are people who do at least 20 minutes of prep before your tongue enters the room. I am afraid that your tongue changes the atmosphere of the room. I am afraid that your tongue, while you give it its very best benefit of the doubt, actually grosses people out and actually causes foundations to be fake built in their lives. And the God of the ages says, your tongue is much smaller than this one, but your tongue holds much more potential than this one. And so how about you? Thank God he put that thing up. How about you? Matthew 12. Men will have to give an account. These are Jesus' words. Men will have to give an account on the day of judgment for every careless word they speak. That word careless is actually translated, or the better translation is barren. I will stand before Jesus and he will go, this word produced nothing. This word was barren. This word did not produce anything. This word, empty words. I love that the infatuation of our God is that we use this tongue to actually create life. Because the power of life and death are actually in the tongue. So how about you? Might be a couple of areas that you've overlooked as far as words, because so many of you, I've heard you say it, I'm not really good at memorizing the Bible. I'm not very good at reciting things. And Jared, we do those creeds here, and we do those psalms, and we do all that kind of stuff. I'm just not good at reciting things and all these kind of things. I want to show you 2 pockets of your life in which you do. The same person who goes, I can't learn 1 iota of the scriptures. These are the people that walk around. I could run away. Bum, bum, da, na, na. Singing song after song after song after song. You could change the atmosphere of your insides, many of you, if you change the songs you let repeat into your ears. I believe another pocket of words for us is social media. There's always that person you know is just about on the edge. Sometimes it's me. On the edge of uncomfortable online. Can I tell you that those are words that are creating a reality for you? And there's some people you need to simply unfollow. So how about you? Here's a challenge. This is a challenge that Tim Keller says is called tongue discipline. Tongue discipline. Here's the challenge. For an entire day, don't prop yourself up and don't cut anyone down. For an entire day, don't boast or list any of your accomplishments. For an entire day, don't frame yourself in the best light. For an entire day, don't be defensive when someone speaks to you. The other part of the tongue challenge is this. Do not cut anyone else down. Do not highlight anyone else's faults for 24 hours. Some of you need to go to bed early so that you can accomplish this. Today's the day. Like, we're already tired from, okay, today. Some of you guys are going to be tired by lunch. For an entire day, don't cut anyone else down. Don't highlight any of their thoughts, their faults, rather. A tongue challenge. I think you will be surprised. I think I will be surprised how much influence this little tongue has on my life. I think we'll be surprised by that. And then how about us? How about us as a church? Oh, as a community of faith, wouldn't it be amazing if God could trust us every time we opened our mouth? If we spoke the truth in love. If when we got together, it was the most encouraging group of people we ever were around. Wouldn't it be awesome if people showed up to a have room or showed up to a neighborhood church or showed up to this thing and they just said, oh, I have to be around those people where I can trust what they say. Wouldn't it be awesome if when words were on this screen, we said, oh, that writer said it better than me. I need to sing it louder than the person next to me because words are shaping my mouth, my life. Wouldn't that be an incredible community to live in? Wouldn't it be awesome if you wore loud colors just to have more people speak to you because you knew that their words were life and their words were encouraging and their words were going to spur you on and their words were true and their words were loving? Would that be amazing? If you just sent out a group text that says, somebody just talk to me because I trust you. But I'm afraid. I'm afraid that the enemy has found his way into my heart and into your heart and into the heart of this church that has caused some of us to shut up and to not use our tongues and to not to say anything. It might not be overtly angry. It might not be overtly negative, but it is silent. And I've got to tell you, the world needs people whose lives are built on foundations of truth and love. And we can build those cinder block by cinder block, word by word. Hallelujah. What sent Jesus to the cross? Was it truth? Did the truth send Jesus to the cross? Did the truth that I am a sinner in need of a Savior and cannot save myself? Did truth send Jesus to the cross? That nothing I can do or say is going to win favor before a holy and awesome God? Yes. Did love send Jesus to the cross? Did he say all that stuff is true and I'm going to put myself in their place, die the death that they should have died, even though I'm innocent and even though I'm perfect? Isn't it awesome? that our salvation was won by the Word who became flesh, who died in truth and in the Word of God. Jesus Christ himself is truth and is love. Wow. If you're not a Christian today, that'd be the best decision you'd ever make, would be to follow Jesus. So if that's you today, I'd love to talk to you about that. I'd love for you to sign or send in a response card and repent of your sin and receive free gift of forgiveness from Jesus, and then live in his glorious life and light where he reveals truth and gives us strength to live according to it. That would be my prayer. I'd love to hear about that through the response card. Also, would love to see you baptized soon.